I'm going to tell you about Doug. Doug was a bully, not the kind you're probably thinking of, the kind that we hear about in the media a lot these days. Doug never physically intimidated me. In fact, it's probably impossible that he could do that. Doug was what I call a psychic bully. He was the kind of guy who could get into your brain and just make you doubt yourself. I remember hearing a story about this parasite that gets into the brains of mice and makes them literally run right up to cats, only waiting to be batted away. And then once batted, they run back up to the cat. And they're like, I'm terrified of you, but more, please. And that's the kind of bully that Doug was. He's the kind of bully that can take your confidence and destroy it. And confidence and I have a very precise relationship. We understand each other very well. We've been living with one another for my entire life. Confidence and I are very much like an older sibling and a younger sibling. We love each other. I'm pretty sure Confidence likes me, but the understanding is this, that Confidence will be there to back me up, to hold my hand when I need it, so long as I do not mention Confidence as my friend. Kind of sometimes like my older sister when I was a freshman in high school, who said, yeah, I can give you a ride to whatever, but don't you dare acknowledge me as your sister. The moment you do, I no longer have your back. And so Confidence and I have gotten along for about 44 years. We tend to do okay. But there are moments where Confidence is like, you forgot, man. You forgot. For example, I remember one time I was in college, and I was on a trip through Europe. Some friends and I had been planning this trip for a long time. High school friends, been planning this trip for about 3 years. We were going to do a 7-week adventurous backpacking trip through Europe. We got our Eurail passes. We were on it. It was happening. And we had been far enough into it. We were in Italy. I think we were at about the halfway mark. And we were still having a good time, but we were just kind of tired. And I remember an overnight train where I can't remember the details, but I remember my two friends kind of teasing me a little bit, like good-natured teasing, but I was just not having it. And so imagine, we'll just pretend we're young. They're kind of poking me just a little bit. And I was like, I don't like it. But I figure they'll stop, and they don't. So finally, I lose it. And with all of my confidence, I just look at them, and I was like, you guys knock it off. And they kind of snicker. What are you going to do? I was like, seriously, knock it off. If you don't, I'm going to content. And they kind of look at me like, I'm sorry, what? I'm gonna content. No, we heard you, but what? Content, like blow up. Like when you look at the side of an aerosol can and it says, warning, contents under pressure. At which point, you know how that one went. They were just done. And I'm a fairly smart guy. Really. I mean, I did okay. I did really well in high school. College, I did well. I got really good grades. I've never really bragged about this, but I was cum laude. I got into a scholarly organization that had a secret handshake. But then content. It was where Confidence said, I told you. So in that case, it was easy. I was wrong. I recognize that. And to my friends, I hope you enjoyed that laugh. But I haven't always been wrong in my confidence. And another example was high school. I was a sophomore. It's one of the first days of school, and I'm sitting in health class. Health class was one of these where, as sophomores, we knew that we were going to be in there with some freshmen. And so I was one of those guys, I wasn't the kind of sophomore who could play up in terms of who I could potentially get a date with. I wasn't even really one of those sophomores who could play even with regards to who I could get a date with. So this was my year. I was thinking, sweet, there's some freshmen. As it turns out, just flash forward, I never played anyway. So it didn't turn out. First day of school, though, and I notice as Miss Veek is going over the curriculum, in walks Sally. And Sally was just one of those, take your breath away. I'm not going to learn anything in health class. Sally is all I'm going to study. That's it. So she kind of looked like the cute girl from Karate Kid, Elizabeth Shue at the time, kind of mixed with that hot girl who was dating the cool guy in 16 Candles, and I'd be surprised if anybody does know her name. Right. So she was right in there, Sally, like just beautiful. And I decided, I'm going to talk to her. I can do it. She's a ninth grader. Don't be scared, Pat, you can do it. So I spent the next few days doing the kind of sophomore detective work that we do. At the time, notebooks were really cool, and like you would decorate your notebook with the bands that you liked. And I was at a point where I was sort of moving from the middle school age Duran Duran into REM. I thought they were a little edgy. And so I thought, well, maybe that's something that I could do. So I looked over, and on Sally's notebook, I saw it. I saw my in. It was a prism with a single white line of light going in on the left, and a rainbow coming out on the other side. And I knew, I was like, it's not my forte. I mean, that music kind of scares me a little bit. But I knew what it was. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to do it. So Miss Veek, I think, was talking about the third stage of grief at the time. And I just kind of leaned over and I said, Sally, so you like Pink Floyd, huh? And she kind of smiles. And then just turns, and she's like, yeah, I really like his music. And I thought, like, I don't know much about Pink Floyd, but I'm pretty sure, and again, I'm thinking, let it go, but then there's a part of me that's like, no. And so I decide to be subtle about it. I say, yeah, I don't know much of their music, but I hear they're really good. And I knew right then. Sally didn't even turn to look at me. She's looking straight ahead. And I know I was at a side view, but I'm fairly certain I could see the eye roll in her skull. And she just goes, whatever. And again, confidence said, see? I told you. So that's where Doug comes in. Doug was kind of like Sally, this guy who questioned what I knew, even though I knew I was right, and in doing so, just absolutely destroyed my confidence. There's something I need to tell you, though. Doug is 14, and I am 28. Doug is a student, and I am a teacher, and not a new teacher. I've been doing this about 5 years. Doug, we now know, thanks to neuroscience, is essentially a hormonal bag of flesh, and I am supposed to be a fully formed adult. Doug's frontal lobe, not really set yet. Mine, theoretically, solid. But Doug was just that kind of bully. So let me set the stage for you. As a teacher, I won't bore you with the details, but a full-time teaching schedule is you teach 5 classes and then you have 1 duty. And in my 4th or 5th year of teaching, I had arrived at the mother of all duties. No more study hall, no more cafeteria duty where you have to clean up. I was assigned 8th period library duty. Library duty is awesome. You go to the library at 1 o'clock. It's just you and the librarian because the students are engaged in silent, sustained reading in their study halls. They will not be checking out to come use the library for 25 minutes. So in that time, still a relatively new teacher, I want to impress. I'm walking around the library, making sure the reference section is in order, making sure all of the encyclopedias, we had them then, were all alphabetized. I'm sort of policing my beat, as it were, before the perps show up. And then I watch the clock. I'm very dutiful. I watch the clock, and 1:28 comes around, and I'm like, okay, they're going to be coming in. They're signing out of their study halls. They've got a pass for the library. I will greet them at the door. And I'm still young enough that I'm going for that kind of cool teacher shtick, like, hey, welcome to the library. I'm Mr. McCreery. I'll be your host. If you have any questions about how to use the library, please feel free to ask me. Until then, I hope you enjoy your stay, and remember, it's a quiet place. And for the most part, students are great. They come in and they kind of like, yeah, thank you. You take your job way too seriously, dude. And they go have a seat, and it's all fine. It works out great. I got so used to that, in fact, that I didn't even see Doug come in this one day. But 1:30 rolls around, the library fills up, the tables fill, I kind of survey the situation, everything looks fine, students are working, all's normal. What's going on over there? A little bit of noise. I'm gonna go check that out. So I walk over to that area. They're right next to the geography section. They're surrounded by globes. And I just decide to kind of, again, play it cool. They haven't technically done anything wrong yet, so I don't want to scare them off. Don't want to give them the wrong impression. So I just walk over and I said, hey, you guys, just want to remind you, library is a place of study. We want it quiet in here. Thank you very much. And 3 of the 4 students sitting at that table just kind of do that polite head nod that I now know says, yeah, just go away. You're fine. But we'll do what you want. But there was one, and I saw it. That guy who just did that thing, the eye roll. Sally. It's okay. I'm going to go back. Just going to go check some books. New book that a student told me about I should check out. I'm going to flip through the pages. The noise does not stop, and it's coming right from that table. I can't stand for this. This is my duty. This is what I've been charged with ensuring. So I walked back over and I said, you guys, I'm really sorry. I tried to kind of let you know last time, casually, that this is a place of study, a place of worship, as you were, in the world of academia. I'd ask that you please honor that. And again, from 3 of the students, polite head nods. And from one, whatever, dude. Sally? And stunned, I just kind of walked back, checked the reference section. I've always wanted to see why they have 2 books for S and only 1 for all the other letters, so I'll pretend that that's what I'm doing and looking through there. Oh, that's really interesting. Apparently more words start with S in the encyclopedia. But it will not stop. And I think now they know that they have officially won. And so they're just not even trying to hide it anymore. They're just making noise rampantly. And I'm pretty sure they're doing it solely to piss me off. So I go over there and I say, listen, that's it. I've asked you guys 2 times already if you cannot respect the library, at which point Doug just turns and says, dude, just go away. All right. So I went away. Because I didn't know what to say at that point, and I'm pretty sure if I said anything, it was going to be inappropriate that would have resulted in a phone call. So in the end, I think a good decision, but I didn't feel really good about it. So I go away, and I thumbed through some of those reference books with more anger and vitriol than I think I have ever paged through books. I might have even damaged some, breaking my own rules about use of the library. But I decide it is now about 2:20, and all I've got to do is get through the next 10 minutes. I can do this. So I just let them go. Doug was talking the whole time. He was telling jokes that honestly made me kind of jealous. What did he have that I didn't have? And his friends are laughing, and now there's more tables gathering to hear his jokes. And I just decided to stay back, and as long as nobody was throwing punches, we're all good. And it gets to be about 1:28, and I decide I'm going to step out of the library, and just as I greeted people on the way in, I'm going to greet them on the way out. So I stand out by the exit of the library, and as they leave, I say, hey, thanks for coming to the library today. I really appreciate it. But they could tell. They could tell I was riled. They knew Doug won that day. But I see him coming out. I see Doug. And I just try. I was like, I'm not going to let this go. I can't. If he beats me, we're done. So I say, hey, you got a minute? Come here for a sec. And he kind of looks at me like, what? He comes over. I'm like, what's your name? Doug. Doug, do you know what respect is? And I can feel it going. I feel that rage building up inside, and so I'm trying to temper it. Do you know what it means to actually respect somebody, to do what you're asked to when you're asked reasonably? And I don't even remember what I said at that point, because as I'm in the middle of my tirade, I just sort of notice, as I'm talking, that Doug, by the way, I forgot to mention, he's about this tall. That's why he cannot be physically intimidating to me, yet he is. I notice on Doug's face just this smile come up from the corners. And he turns to me and looks straight at me, and he goes, at which point I might have cried, but Doug certainly turned around and walked away. And that was it. And I thought, confidence. You shit. And I wish it ended there, but it didn't. That was Doug's freshman year. And I spent the next 3 years sort of tracking Doug from afar, the same way that I spent 3 years in my own high school experience tracking Sally from afar, sort of wanting him to be in my class, but not really wanting him to be in my class. I would see him at assemblies, and I would sit close enough that I could see him, but if I thought that he saw me, I'd kind of duck down and be like, oh, I wasn't looking. And I knew nothing about this kid at all, but he had this impact on me. And as it turned out, 3 years, Doug was never in my class. Thank God, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know if I would have wanted to heal with him. My guess is he would not have wanted the same. So we have this flash forward 3 years, and Doug's now a senior. I assume he's still in school, which to me is honestly a surprise. I feel a little bad saying that, but most guys like him wouldn't cut it that far. But it's his senior year, and I figure the one time I've got him is graduation. Because I need to tell you something about graduation. If you've ever been to one of these ceremonies, they're terribly dry from the audience's perspective. But from the teacher's perspective, they are sweet, sweet justice. Because what we get to do, at least at our graduation ceremony, we are asked to hang out in the back, and we form what's called a gauntlet, which is a row of teachers on either side of the line of students coming backstage to process up onto the stage and get their diploma. Terrifying in any other sense, but at the time it's to really make sure that they know that they were loved and welcome at school. That's what we tell them anyway. Really what we're doing is shaking their hand to make sure that they don't have any little gags that they're going to give to the principal. But it sounds better when you say it the first way. So we have the gauntlet of teachers, and the students come back. And what I love about that graduation ceremony is that regardless of what kind of clown or jock or stud or whatever the students are, that night they are terrified. They're nervous. Their palms are so disgustingly sweaty that we actually have, our little secret is we have bottles of Purell in our pocket, and when nobody's looking, we do that. They're the kids that we knew them to be. They're the kids that we want them to be and that we're actually very proud of. But they are kids. And so graduation night happens, and students are processing through, and I really do love it because they're students that I've worked with for a long time, and I'm so happy to see them grow, and so bittersweet sad to see them go. But they're coming through, and all of a sudden I see it. There's Doug. He's coming. And I get this smile, because I've been working on this for 3 years. What I would do to Doug. And I'm pretty sure in 3 years, he hasn't thought about me at all. So another student I know, shake hands, hug, oh, I'm so proud of you. Doug's about 5 students back. A couple students I don't know, good job, I'm so proud of you, even though I never knew you. Doug's about 4 students back, and he comes, and then all of a sudden, there he is, right there. And he kind of looks at me with this nervous look. Doug's nervous. I'm like, this is sweet, I got him. I'm 28, I shouldn't care about that. But I look at him, and for a moment, there's just kind of that glassy-eyed look, but then I see it. A connection. And I was like, hey, Doug, you remember me? Yeah. Like, yeah, I remember you really well. Happy graduation. You feeling good? Yeah. And then, as I went to shake his hand, right at the end, except I didn't. I know. Oh, I wanted to. I really wanted to. So badly. You would not believe it. In a way that honestly makes me feel kind of badly about myself. I wanted to shame and humiliate that boy so badly so that he felt like the puddle of insecurity that I had been for 3 years. But I remembered my deal with confidence. And I thought, no, not tonight. Not when he's got a sweaty palm and I've got the upper hand. I'm not going to let confidence win. So instead, extended my hand, and I said, yeah, Doug, I remember you too. I hope you're a better person than you were 3 years ago. You deserve to be better than that. I wish you the best. Inside, though, I so badly just wanted to. Thank you.